England, the spiritual birthplace of football. But is it also home to the world's biggest underachievers? We've had golden generation squads. We've had football coming home for 26 years. And what do we have to show for it? One home World Cup in 1966. It's always a case of so near, yet so far. But there's a new golden generation on the horizon. Let's rebuild England and finally bring football home. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I am frankly FM84. Thank you for joining me right here on YouTube on another video. If you've been on the channel in the past couple of weeks, there are chances you probably would have come across one of the rebuilds. We've been doing club football where we take over a fallen giant or an interesting save game, rebuild the club for 4 years and try and leave it in a better state than when we took over, and possibly add a bit of silverware to the trophy cabinet too. Today though, we're going to switch it up. If you've been watching England in real life, you'll know that Gareth Southgate has lost his way a little bit. There is a major tournament coming up in World Cup 2022. And we today are going to step into Gareth's shoes and see if we can go one better than what he did in the Euros and in the previous World Cup by progressing England using a golden generation. What does that mean, you may ask? So today we're going to take over England. We're going to progress through 3 major competitions. So the World Cup in 22, which is right on the doorstep, Euro 24, and then the World Cup in 2026, which is a completely different format to the one that we are going to be seeing this year. And we are going to try and rebuild the team using players under the age of 30. So when we take the squad on, we're going to show you the squad very, very soon. Any player over the age of 30 is going to be banished from the squad and they won't be coming back. And we're going to try and bring in the youth of tomorrow as we try to rebuild England's team and bring the average age of the players down. I know England have quite a young team anyway, but any players over the age of 30 will go straight away. And as we move forward, any players that hit the age of 30 are going to be replaced, although we are going to go as young as possible, as quickly as possible. So I think that pretty much explains the concept of what we are going to do. Let's not waste any time and jump into the game. You can see we already have it loaded. We have taken over the job as England manager. Let's start off by showing you the squad that we have inherited. So if Gareth Southgate was to be going to the World Cup at the start of FM22, this is the team he would have taken. So let's start at the top and work our way down then. So the 3 goalkeepers that are currently in the England squad are Pickford, Pope and Ramsdale, ages of 27, 29 and 23. Aaron Ramsdale being there is a big bonus. At the age of just 23, I think he is going to be the goalkeeper going forwards. Nick Pope, I'm not too sure. I know he's just got a big move in real life to Newcastle United, but I've got a feeling that we will be moving him out of the England squad pretty quickly. And Jordan Pickford, who has been the national goalkeeper for a little while, I think he's just going to be phased out at this point. There are a few interesting players who are in the under-21s and the under-20s, so might show you those as well for players to look out for. Going further down the list then, Harry Maguire, 28, Marmite player. Some people really like him, other people don't. Manchester United form has been patchy. He's 28 years old. He's one that I will tell you straight away. He's going to be on the chopping block pretty much straight away. We also have Stones, Tomori and White, who can play as out and out centre-backs. 27 at 23 and 23. Joe Gomez, bit of a utility player, can play right, left or centre. 24. We then have Kyle Walker, who is 31, so he's going to be off. As soon as we start selecting squads, he will be out of the squad. Fortunately for Kyle, doesn't fit in with what we are trying to do. But Trent Alexander-Arnold at 22 certainly does. We then have Declan Rice, who can play as a defender or as a midfielder. He's 22, so that again goes with the ethos. Left backs, Luke Shaw, Ben Chilwell, 25 and 24. Both of those tick the boxes. They are fine. The next one, even though I'm a Liverpool fan and he's Liverpool's captain, Jordan Henderson at the age of 31 will be not considered for England duty anymore. We then have James Ward-Prowse and Calvin Phillips. They are the DMs and MCs, 26 and 25, before we hit another one that's a little bit, I don't know, 27 years old, Ox. In real life, can't stay fit, hasn't really played for Liverpool. At the age of 27, can we get some better options in? Is he just taking up a place in the squad that maybe we could fill with somebody else? Possibly. Raheem Sterling and Jack Grealish, right and left, and Grealish can play through the centre. Both Man City players, Grealish obviously the £100 million man at the start of this game. They are 25 and 21. No, sorry, 26 and 25. Phil Foden is 21. Another Manchester City player who can play all of the positions that Jack Grealish can play. And then up top, we've got Kane, Rashford, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. So 27, 23 and 24 means Harry Kane will be there for the first tournament, but then he's going to start to get phased out as we go forward. Rashford starts the game off injured, can play wide left as well. Dominic Calvert-Lewin as a striker at the start of the game, I believe he has it in his locker to move out to the wider positions and maybe even drop off the front line. So he's going to be key going forwards when Harry Kane is moved on. A little look at the tactic. In fact, no, before we go on to the tactic, what I'm going to do is show you the squad depth and show you if there's any players lurking that we haven't currently seen. So goalkeepers, Pickford, Ramsdale, Pope, Johnston and Forster. So 3 in the squad, 2 not in the squad there. Left backs, Shaw, Chilwell, Tomori, Gomez, Mings. So Mings not in the team, but the others all are. Defender centre left, we've got Walker, Stones, Maguire, Rice, Tomori. And then also the same list for the other central defender position. Defender right, Cole Walker, who won't be in. Trent, Reece James, Jordan Henderson and White, which is a bit strange. Defensive midfielders, we're going to have to get rid of what in this game says is our best defensive midfielder in Jordan Henderson. But we have Phillips, Ward-Prowse, Rice and Trent. Trent as a central defensive midfielder? Don't know, I've never seen that, but it says he can play there, so might have to look at that. Midfielder centre right, Mount, who's not in the team, Henderson, Phillips, Foden and Grealish. In the attacking positions then, Sterling, Grealish, Kane, Mount and Foden on the left. On the right, Sterling, Foden, Grealish, Ox and Mount. And then the AMC is Kane, Foden, Grealish, Mount, Sterling, even though it's a shadow striker really. And then striker up top is Kane, certainly to start with, but then Calvert-Lewin, Rashford, Tammy Abraham and Danny Ings. Danny Ings will not be getting into the squad either. If we have a little look at the tactic. So this is the tactic we are going to be running. It's FMDNA's 4-2-3-1. I have recently done a video on this as well, so if you haven't been and checked that out, please go and do that. He's such a good guy. He's Tony. Does a lot for the community, a lot for the people also in and around the community. He does his tactic testing. He does the Tonbridge Angels save. Loads of stuff on his channel. Go and pay him a visit. Hit the subscribe and like button for Tony. But we are going to be using his tactic. I think it fits in perfectly with the ethos of what we're trying to do. We've got going to get a younger team. We are going to start moulding them into the positions that are in this formation. I think with the results that we got in the tactic test, this could work out to be a really, really good England tactic. It breaks away from the 4-4-2 that England are used to, and there's no like weird setups with back threes. This is just a solid tactic with the sweeper keeper, 2 IWBs, 2 ball playing defenders, an RPM and a Mazzala in the middle of the park, 2 IWs, the shadow striker and the PF up top, so the pressing forward that will go and get the ball back straight away. Before we jump forwards into the fixtures and show you firstly if we qualify for the World Cup and the squad if we make it, the first thing to show you is the under-21s then. So let's look at if there's any standout performers in the under-21s. A few names that you might recognise here. So James Trafford, Etienne Green, both young goalkeepers. Charlie Cresswell of Leeds. Jared Branthwaite of Everton. And there's Callum Doyle, Max Aarons, Tariq Lamptey, who plays for Brighton. Brandon Williams of Manchester United. Oliver Skipp of Tottenham. Callum Hudson-Odoi. Morgan Gibbs-White of Wolves, Jacob Ramsey from Aston Villa, and when we did the Aston Villa rebuild, Jacob Ramsey was a player that we were signing other players in his position, and he was outperforming them. So he's one who is going to be on the radar. Curtis Jones, Harvey Elliott, Noni Madueke, obviously a bonus that he is English. We can call him up, and I think he will be one that breaks the team quite soon. Smith Rowe, Ryan Brewster, Liam Delap, and Dane Scarlett, the Tottenham forward. Up the top in the under-20s, some interesting players here. So we've got Taylor Harwood-Bellis, Ted Mengi. There is Ronnie Edwards of Peterborough, Cody Dramer of Leeds, James Garner of Manchester United was on loan at Notts Forest. Is one to look at. Carney Chukwuemeka. I apologise if that's not how you pronounce it, but Carney Chukwuemeka, again, another one in the Aston Villa rebuild. He's a player who's just on the outskirts of the Villa squad. I think he has a bright future at the age of just 17. Shola Shortire, who is a wonder kid for Manchester United. Joe Gelhardt up front for Leeds. Morgan Rogers, who's at Manchester City but out on loan. And then we have got Sam Greenwood, who I think, is he at Leeds as well? Yes, he is indeed. So those are some of the players who are in the under-21s and under-20s. They are the ones that I think straight away we are going to be looking at. So let's not waste any more time. We're going to jump forward. We're going to go through some games. We are, after this quick break in the action, we are going to show you, if we qualify for the World Cup, the first squad that we put together to go to the World Cup. And then after that, we will show you the World Cup. So let's first jump forwards and show you our qualification path for the World Cup. With the Winter World Cup upon us, we have jumped forwards to the 8th of November 2022. Let's have a little rundown of how we have qualified for the World Cup. If we hit the schedule and go back, you can see we had already completed some games along the path, but we started off in emphatic fashion with a 21-0 victory. Slightly embarrassing that we have scored 21 goals against San Marino. We had 70 shots, 39 on target. Goals for pretty much the whole team. Chilwell, Sterling, Gallagher, Kane, Ramsey, Grealish, Gallagher, Sterling, Ramsey, Bellingham, Calvert-Lewin, and then Conor Gallagher and Raheem Sterling. So 21-0 to start us off was a little bit of an embarrassing scoreline considering we really started off with a bang. We then beat Poland 4-2 in the qualification game. There we went 4-0 up with goals from Kane, Sterling and Grealish. We then played against Hungary and we beat them 3-0 with goals. 2 penalties from Kane and a goal from Raheem Sterling. We then suffered a surprise defeat to Albania. We lost 3-2 in this game. Jude Bellingham getting himself sent off. And then we were 2-0 down, got it back to 2-2 before conceding a 96th minute goal. And then we didn't look back. We beat Andorra 13-0. Goals again for pretty much everybody. So Chalobah, Ramsey, Smith Rowe, Kane, Grealish, Ramsey, Ronnie Edwards, who I said might get a mention, Trent Alexander-Arnold and Harry Kane. And then they had 2 men sent off and we couldn't score against them when they had 2 men sent off, but we had already scored 13 goals at that point. We beat Poland 3-0 in the home game. Absolutely played them off the park. Harvey Barnes getting 2 goals in this game and Noni Madueke popping up with a goal too. So you can see some of the players that have been drafted in along the way. We played against San Marino in the away leg and we scored 11 goals. Dane Scarlett getting into the team. There was an injury, I think, to Calvert-Lewin, maybe. He was drafted in as a replacement. Harvey Elliott, Dane Scarlett scored, I think he scored 7. Does it say 7 there? Yes, it does indeed. He scored 7 in one game against San Marino. Conor Gallagher getting the other goals. Were there only 2 goal scorers in that game? Now, Harvey Elliott, Smith Rowe, Scarlett and Gallagher. So we ended 2021 with 1 defeat out of the games that we played. The top 3 obviously had already gone, but 1 defeat. We rolled into 2022 then, and then we have started the year with a 2-1 victory against Bosnia and Herzegovina. Harry Kane scoring and Harvey Elliott scoring that game. And then we kind of hit the crossover period where we are building up to the World Cup, but obviously in the summer we go into the Nations League, and we started the Nations League really, really well. 3-2 victory against Germany in the first game. Harry Kane, Phil Foden getting the goals there. Unfortunately, not got the real name patch for Germany, which means that Clemens and Pettersson got the goals for Germany, but hey-ho. Nations League, again, we beat Wales 4-0. Calvert-Lewin, Foden and Jacob Ramsey getting a goal there, which might give a little bit away. Played Hungary, again 3-0 victory. Chilwell, Smith Rowe and Grealish getting the goal there. And then we beat Germany 5-1 in the home leg. Kane, Calvert-Lewin, Livramento, Kane and Madueke. Before we beat Hungary 3-1 and we beat Wales 2-0. So that was up to the 6th of the 9th. And we are now on the cusp of the World Cup. So if we go into the Nations League group, you can see we've qualified already, 18 points, 6 games, 6 wins. And the last thing to show you was the World Cup group, just to show you how we qualified. So we qualified top, 27 points, 10 played, 9 won, 1 lost, goal difference of 60. And that brings us forward to the World Cup. So the first squad to go into a World Cup, let's show you that before we show you how we get on at the World Cup. So lots of chopping and changing. Like I said, players as young as we could probably get them into the team. A lot of players at that crossover age of 28, 29, 30, 31 have been removed from the team. So the World Cup squad that we have just announced and put to the FA is Henderson, Ramsdale and Etienne Green as the 3 goalkeepers, so ages 25, 24, 22. Tamori, Trevor Chalobah, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Declan Rice, Reece James, Benjamin White, Ronnie Edwards, Tino Livramento, Ben Chilwell, Jude Bellingham, Jacob Ramsey, Jack Grealish, Mason Mount, Phil Foden, Emile Smith-Rowe, Harvey Elliott, Noni Madueke, Harry Kane, Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Tammy Abraham. So if we sort by age, you can see there is a lot of youth going into this World Cup. We have Bellingham 19, Elliott 19, Ronnie Edwards is 19, Tino Livramento is 19, Madueke's 20, Jacob Ramsey's 21. So that there is 6 players all under the age of 21 who will be going to the World Cup. It's a team that is based on youth. As I said, we are looking for a golden generation. Can this team fire us to success in the World Cup? Let's jump forward and show you how we get on in the World Cup. Here we go then. So the World Cup, you can see that we are currently on the group stage. We were drawn in Group C along with Uruguay, Poland and Australia. And we qualified from the group with a perfect record of 3 games played, 3 won, 4-18 against 3, goal difference of 15 and points of 9. So starting off in the first game, we beat Poland 6-1. We played some absolute stunning football, didn't really give them a chance. Mason Mount, Tamori, Bellingham, Foden, James and Chalobah all getting on the score sheet as we brushed them aside pretty easily. In the next round, or the second game, beat Uruguay 5-0. Goals from Kane, Foden, Mount, Kane and Grealish pushing us forward. And at that point, we had pretty much already qualified before a 7-2 victory against Australia. We really didn't ease up. Tino Livramento opened the scoring. Tammy Abraham, Phil Foden, Abraham again, Calvert-Lewin, Tammy Abraham again getting a hat-trick. And then Tino Livramento to round it off. Goals from Leckie and Rogic got Australia back in it, but they never really had a chance, and we progressed through from the first group stage. So if we then go to the second round, you can see that we ended up playing Mexico in the second round. We won that game 3-0, pretty much swept them aside, didn't give them too many chances. Foden and Calvert-Lewin getting the goals there as we roll on into the next phase of the World Cup. If we go to the quarterfinals, we got drawn against Denmark. Denmark put up a really good fight in this game, and we could only score 1 goal despite having 28 shots, 10 of which were on target. Harry Kane, though, firing us through into the semi-finals of the World Cup, who we then got drawn against Italy. And again, Italy got swept aside. Goals from Kane, Bellingham and Kane. Before it all started kicking off at the end, Chiesa got himself sent off. Bellingham got himself sent off. Tonali scored a goal. It was a pretty crazy semi-final, but considering they had beaten England in real life in the Euros final, it was good to get some sweet revenge in a World Cup semi-final. And that meant we were rolling on into the final, our first World Cup final since 1966. And we played against Portugal, and we won 4-2. So England with a golden generation have gone and won a World Cup in 2022. So whether Football Manager thinks that this squad could go and do it at this young age is absolutely probably unthinkable. Don't think if Gareth Southgate was to call up the team that we did, he would probably go and win it. But it does show that with a good formation, with some good attacking players, we really are a nation who can build on a golden generation and should be able to go and win trophies. So in the final, Harry Kane got us off and running. Ronaldo got a goal back, as he always does. Kane then got a penalty. Calvert-Lewin and Noni Madueke before Bernardo Silva got one back, but it was a 4-2 victory, and we went on to lift our second World Cup. So, instant success for England, instant success for the tactic, and instant success for the golden generation. So that is the first hurdle completed. The next one, though, is to keep the success going. So I think we have, if we go to the schedule, we have scheduled for next year. So in 2023, we have Euros qualifying Group E. Also going to show you the semi-final of the Nations League, where we are going to be playing against Holland. If we win that game, we will play against Portugal or Italy, which is our semi-final and final of the World Cup. So there's a good chance that we can face off against one of those in the finals of the Nations League. So let's jump forward. Let's show you what happens in those two Euros qualifiers and then in the Nations League. Okay, so off the back of our World Cup success, we then went and played in the Nations League semi-finals. We got off to a great start. We beat Holland 5-0 in that semi-final. 34 shots, 16 on target. Goals for Tomori, Grealish, Kane and Abraham. Blasted us past Holland. And that meant for the second time in just 6 months, was it? Yeah, roughly about 6 months, maybe 5 months. It meant that we were in another final. So England not in a final for ages. And then we go Euros final, World Cup final, Nations League final. What happened in the final, you may ask? We went and beat Italy once again. So revenge again for the Euros. A 2-0 victory this time. Bukayo Saka and Jack Grealish getting the goals. And it meant that we went on to lift the Nations League. So that means now we have won the World Cup and the Nations League back to back. The next thing we were going to show you was the Euro qualifiers. So if we hit the schedule button, you can see the Euro qualifiers are already done. If we look at England's group, we were in a group with Ireland, Norway, Greece, Belarus. So we started off our campaign against Norway. We went to Norway and we won 2-0. Goals from Foden and Harry Kane getting us off to the perfect start against Erling Haaland and his men. We then played Belarus, where we won 12-1. This formation, when it is on song, is absolutely fantastic. When you have some of the players that England have, absolute perfect in terms of attacking options. I mean, just look at the goals here. 45 shots, 21 on target, 12 goals. Jacob Ramsey, Tino Livramento, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Mason Mount, Trent, Mason Mount again, Maddison, Calvert-Lewin, Maddison and Calvert-Lewin getting all the goals in that game. We then moved on. Who did we play next? We played next against Greece. We won 3-0 in this game, despite having Trent Alexander-Arnold sent off in the first half. Not too sure what was going on with either the reffing or the standard of the play, because we had, how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 yellow cards before half-time, plus the red card for Trent Alexander-Arnold. But it didn't hinder us at all. Harry Kane getting a penalty, Jude Bellingham and Jack Grealish getting the goals that won in that game. In the next game that we played, it was against Ireland. We won that game 3-0 as well. Ramsey, Kane and Tomori getting the goals there. On to the next game then. And Greece again, 6-0 victory at home. Bellingham, Foden, Saka, Kane, Foden and Reece James getting the goals. That put us on to a 6-0 victory against Greece. Further on down, Ireland again. Where's the Norway game? Did we play Norway again? We beat Belarus 8-0, sorry. So we then had goals from Calvert-Lewin, Madueke, Trent, Abraham, Madueke, Saka and Madueke again. So Noni Madueke getting a hat-trick, Tammy Abraham getting 2 in that game. And then At the end, we beat Ireland 3-1. Goals from Reece James, Tammy Abraham and Jack Grealish. So, another successful qualifying campaign. We qualified as group leaders. 24 points from a possible 24. Scored 41 goals. Goal difference of 39. And we are absolutely flying. So, if we hit the schedule button and we go through, you can see that we have 2 friendly games before the Euros. So, in the next part, we're going to show you the squad for Euro 2024. We'll also show you the results of those friendlies. You can also see that in terms of the Nations League, it starts up again right after the Euros. So we are in a group with Wales, Holland, Portugal. So a lot of this to take in, but the next step is the Euros squad and then the Euros. So let's jump forward and show you who made the plane for the Euros. Okay, so we have jumped forwards. We are through the Euros, and I will show you how we got on in just a second. But first, let's run you through the squad that we had selected for the Euros. We had Henderson, Ramsdale and Green as the goalkeepers. The defenders, Tomori, Armitage, Chalobah, Alexander-Arnold, Reece James, Ben White, Tino Livramento and Ben Chilwell. The midfielders were Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka, Jude Bellingham, Jack Grealish, Mason Mount, Phil Foden, Emile Smith-Rowe, Harvey Elliott and Noni Madueke. And the 3 forwards were Kane, Calvert-Lewin and Tammy Abraham. Kane is playing in his last tournament after save. Obviously, he's now hit the age of 30. I did say that if they had qualified, kind of how the under-21s work, if they had played throughout the qualification, they could finish that tournament. But this will be Harry Kane's swan song for England as we look to replace him going forwards. So that is the squad. We have basically kept the core of the World Cup squad. We moved them forwards through the Nations League and won that. And then the Euros is the next step. So let's go and show you how we got on in Euro 2024. Okay, so we were drawn in a group with Scotland, Poland and Bosnia. You can see that 3 out of the 4 qualified for the next round. But we started off with a 2-0 victory against Poland. Goals from Calvert-Lewin and Kane, enough to fire us past the Poles. We then beat Bosnia 3-0. Goals from Calvert-Lewin, Kane and Chalobah, enough to get us 6 out of 6 points. And then finally, beating Scotland 2-0, goals from Trent Alexander-Arnold and Phil Foden, ensuring that we qualify top of the group, 9 out of a possible 9, with 7 goals scored, none conceded, a goal difference of 9 points. So a perfect start to the campaign in the 2024 Euros. Second round saw us get picked up against Switzerland, and we went and blew them away as well, 3-1. We were 3-0 up after 39 minutes with goals from Kane and Grealish, and then Okafor getting a goal after 43, and then a boring second half ensured that we got through to the next round. Where are we? Quarterfinals were up next. So we then played France team, which included, let's have a little look at the France lineup: Guiri, Griezmann, Mbappe, Kakare, Kante, Hernandez, Mukiele, Hernandez, Upamecano, Kunde and Mainan in goal, I want to say. But our starting lineup of Ramsdale, Chilwell, White, Tomori, James, Rice, Bellingham, Smith-Rowe, Grealish, Foden and Kane was enough to get us through into the semi-finals. A 2-1 victory with goals from Chilwell and Smith-Rowe before Hernandez got a goal back for them. Into the semi-finals we roll, and again the old foe Italy. We have now come up against them in the Euros in real life in the final. We then come up against them in the World Cup in the semi-finals, beat them in the Nations League final. We've now beaten them in the UEFA European Championship semi-final. So revenge for that previous Euros. Goals from James, Kane and Mount, enough to see us through. Bastoni getting a goal for Italy. And then in the final, who did we come up against? But the old enemy themselves, Germany. And we swept them aside 4-0. Madueke, Calvert-Lewin, Harvey Elliott and Ben Chilwell getting the goals. So that is pretty much a successful start to the save. We have won the Euros, we have won the World Cup, we have won the Nations League. Now the difficult thing is to go to the 2026 World Cup and defend that. We do have the Nations League coming up. If we go and look at the schedule, Nations League Nations League A Group 1, Wales, Holland, Portugal and ourselves. So we have the qualifiers for that, and then we are going to take you straight through to the end of those Nations League qualifiers. We are also going to be looking at the build-up to the 2026 World Cup, which I didn't realise until I actually played this, that it is different. The format for the 2026 World Cup is going to be odd, to say the least. But it's FIFA, what can you say? They're going to run it the way they want to run it. So let's jump forwards. Let's bring you back at the next major tournament and show you the next batch of games that we've played and the squad that we are now going to be assembling post Harry Kane. So we've jumped forwards to 22nd of June 2025. There's a few things to show you in the bridge between the last Euros and the next World Cup. The first one is the European South American Super Cup of 2025. We played against Argentina, and as you can see right on screen here, we won that game 4-1. Goals from Bellingham, Sancho and Tammy Abraham, ensuring that we beat the best of the South American teams, which was Argentina, in this version of the trophy. We have also gone through the start of the World Cup qualifying campaign, but try not to give you a spoiler here. We have also played in another Nations League, and again we have started off in the semi-finals with an absolute mad game, a 6-3 victory against Austria. Reece James, Jude Bellingham, Phil Foden, and Bellingham getting the other goals too, meant that we started off the defence of our Nations League crown with a win. We then obviously went to the final, where you can see again we are going to be playing against Italy. 4-2 in the Juventus Stadium in Turin. 20 shots, 9 on target, 4 goals. Bellingham, Tomori and Calvert-Lewin on the score sheet. This England squad has now won another major trophy. So we have gone through the first World Cup in 2022. We have won. We have then won the Nations League. We have won the the European Championships. Europa League's a bit of a step down from the European Championships, isn't it? We have won another Nations League. We have won the European South American Cup. It just leads us now all roads to this 2026 World Cup, which will be in America. Let's go back to the schedule though and show you how we've started off the qualifying campaign. So we've played 3 games. We are currently sat... we have played 2 games. Croatia have played 3 games. We are currently sat second in the group on 6 points. We started off with a 3-2 victory against Northern Ireland. Calvert-Lewin, Foden and Mount building up a strong lead before Brown and Dallas got goals back for Northern Ireland that left us actually clinging on at the end. I did think there was a chance that they could have nicked a point, but they didn't. And then a 5-0 demolition of Bosnia. Goals from Trent, Smith Rowe, Elliott and Calvert-Lewin, ensuring that we are 2 from 2 and 6 points on the board early on. So the next step in this, and there's only 2 steps left, so we're going to jump forward now to the end of the World Cup qualifying campaign, and then we are also going to show you the squad before we get into the World Cup, and then we will reach the end of the experiment. Okay, we are now at the 24th of May 2026, and we are just days away from the start of another World Cup. The first thing we're going to do is introduce the squad that is going to go and represent England in 2026. So we have the same 3 goalkeepers as the first World Cup. Henderson, Ramsdale, Etienne Green, all falling under that age of 30. Dean Henderson only just at 29. We now have Tomori, Betty, Armitage, Chalobah, Trent, Reece James. Jeremy Frimpong is an interesting one. Managed to talk him around into representing England. He comes into the squad. Ben Chilwell, they are all the defenders. We then have Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka, Charlie Patino, James McAtee, Mason Mount, Phil Foden, Emil Smith-Rowe, Harvey Elliott, Nani Madueke are the midfielders. And then Joe Gelhardt, Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Tammy Abraham as the forwards. So a bit of a hit and miss team really. Some of the older guard have moved on. We did miss a few players through injury, and then we have called up some of the younger lads Charlie Patino's, James McAtee's, those kinds of players who can come in, get experience before the World Cup, like in the qualifying campaigns, but now they are going to a World Cup. Can they replicate the 2022 team? So let's show you the schedule and show you how we got there. In terms of the World Cup qualification, we finished top of the group, 8 games played, 8 games won, 40 goals, 5 against, 35 goal assists, and 24 points. So this is it. It all comes down to this. We've already won the first World Cup in 22. We've won trophies along the way, but can we retain a World Cup and make England a 3-time World Cup winning team? Let's show you what happened in the 2026 World Cup. Okay, here we go. This is the group stage of the World Cup. For 2026, as I said, things are going to be different. You can see we are in a group of 3, which is really, really strange to look at. Traditionally, all the time I've ever watched World Cups, it has been groups of 4 teams. We are down to 3. Us, South Africa and Japan. We qualified, playing 2, winning 2, 6 points. The other 2 teams getting just a point in the group. Not too sure what is going on there. The other thing I can show you is that there are now all of these groups, all with 3 teams. So it's going to make it really tricky when you watch this World Cup in real life to keep up with all the games and all of the, like, just playing 2 games in a group just feels wrong. It should be 3. But for the purpose of the game, we have played 2, we have won 2. So that moves us then on to the second round, where we got drawn against Morocco and we blasted past Morocco with a 7-0 victory. Calvert-Lewin, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Tammy Abraham, Emil Smith-Rowe. Anybody else lurking at the top? No. Calvert-Lewin getting 4 goals in a World Cup game is quite impressive. We restricted them to just 1 shot. We had 18 on target and scored 7 goals. So the second round then becomes the third round, and we faced off against Uruguay. Goals from Mason Mount with the penalty and Tammy Abraham enough to get us past them. Then the third round now leads to the quarterfinals, where we were drawn against Turkey, beat Turkey 3-0. Tomori, Trent Alexander-Arnold and Harvey Elliott. Reece James getting himself sent off did not help, but didn't really hold us back. We still went on and won the game 3-0. Quarterfinals into the semi-finals, and we faced off against Switzerland, who we played, I think, in the Euros. Either way, same outcome if we did play against them, was a 2-0 victory. Abraham and Foden on the goals. They had a man sent off at the end. They also had an injury. And that left us in the World Cup final. I mean, strangely enough, some of the teams that were getting drawn into some of these games here, I think if we look at the quarterfinals, Switzerland played Jamaica to get us in the semi-finals. Nigeria are also getting through to the semi-finals, I believe, which means that Nigeria are almost the first African country to reach a World Cup final, which would have been amazing. They lost to Portugal, which means that we ended up playing against Portugal. And in the final, we won 4-0 to win our second World Cup. Absolutely amazing. Brilliant game. 4 goals. McAtee, Elliott, Smith-Rowe, Madueke. Harvey Elliott got injured at the end, but it really didn't matter as we won another World Cup. So that's back-to-back World Cups. We've won the Euros. We've won the 2 Nations Leagues as well. We have won absolutely everything we possibly could have won. We have reduced the age of the squad, and I think some of these players here are really ones to be looking out for in the future. Etienne Green is an interesting one. He's an English goalkeeper who is playing abroad. Let's have a look. Is he actually playing at Saint Etienne? He is playing at Saint Etienne. So Etienne Green plays for Saint Etienne. You can see there Chelsea spending big money on him in the game to bring him back. Tomori, obviously former Chelsea player. Luke Betty is at Manchester City. Will Armitage is an interesting player at Southampton. Did he start off there? He starts off the game at Cheltenham and then went to Southampton. So if his career trajectory ends up in a World Cup squad at the age of 21, I'd be surprised. But he's a player who we spotted and he had some good potential, so we drafted him in. Trevor Chalobah, obviously Chelsea player. Trent is Trent. Declan Rice, Reece James. Jeremy Frimpong is an interesting one. Information. can also represent Ghana, can also represent Holland. We somehow managed to get him to declare for England, which meant that we could call him up. I think he is going to be a brilliant player. 25 years old in 2026, so a young player who can probably develop, but another one that we took full advantage of when we could get him. Players like Charlie Patino, in real life, if Arsenal can develop him, bring him through. I know that he's played, I believe, Carabao Cup games, maybe a few Premier League games. It's going to be brilliant. James McAtee, did a video for him on the FM Connection. Manchester City player, they think highly of him in real life. They've just given him a brand new contract. Mason Mount, Phil Foden, Noni Madueke, obviously he's going to be a superstar if he carries on the way he's going to. PSV player, they are developing him nicely. And Joe Gelhardt is a bit of a strange one. Football Manager 2022, he has quite an outcome of a big range of outcomes. This version of Joe Gelhardt really deserved his place in the team because he was scoring goals in the game and he deserved to be there. And then Tammy Abraham, obviously, followed Jose out to Roma in the game. He's still at Roma. He's still scoring goals. And he could be one of England's best hope post Harry Kane and Harry Kane's version. So if we go to the home screen, the final thing to do is, in fact, we go to Nation. You can have a look at the History tab. Competitions. You can now see that England are proud 3-time World Cup winners. And that is what we wanted to do. We wanted to bring the golden generation through. We wanted to see if we could win trophies and make England far more successful. Less of being the bridesmaids, more about being the bride. 1966, 2022, 2026 World Cup winners. European Championships 2024 after being runner-up in 2021. 1968 we were third place. European South American Super Cup, we won that in 25. Nations League, 2 times winners in 23 and 25. We finished third placed in 2019 in real life. And then obviously we have some lower and junior category wins along the way. So, England, can we do it? Is football going to come home in real life? Let me know in the comments section down below first and foremost. Do England have a chance at the 2022 World Cup? Winter World Cup, bit of a different theme about it. It's going to be hard breaking the Premier League season up. But do England have a chance? Can they do what we have just done in Football Manager? And then going forward, any of this golden generation that I have picked, do you think any of them could be successful? Again, leave that in the comment section down below. There we go then. That is the England rebuild complete. What a fun project that was. Firstly, going and winning 2 World Cups, winning the Euros, putting everything in the bag was brilliant. Gareth Southgate, as I've just said, he's been having a bit of a rough time of it. Can they go and do it in 2022? Is football going to come home? We shall find out soon enough. If you're at this point of the video, you're still listening to me talk, firstly, a big thank you for that. Secondly, if you haven't hit the like and subscribe button, please consider doing so. It helps to get these videos out to so many more people. Every interaction with the channel is important. And I really do thank every single person that takes their time to come by the channel and interact in any way, shape or form that you can. For this one though, I'm going to wrap it there. Go and check out another video on the channel. And if you aren't, come back on the next one. I'll see you soon.